I started thinking about the name for my session, right? It was called Surviving as the First and Only PMM before. And things started getting a little too negative, so I changed the title, and the whole session turned out to be a bit more positive. So I'm like really happy with the word thriving. So first and foremost, why me and why this session, right? So I'm a fairly new product marketing manager. By my bachelor's degree, by my core, I'm an embedded system electronics engineer. I spent most of my life working as a coder, as a developer. So I'm a new marketer, fairly. The only interaction I had with the marketing folks were during product launches, and mostly was with the corporate marketing or branding folks. And I always looked at them with skepticism, like, you don't get it, do you? So I always had that weird relationship with marketing. And when I was new to marketing, I was also new to product marketing. So I always put my engineering hat on and looked at things in an engineering way. So those were almost six and a half, 7 years ago. Things have changed since then. I still have like love and hate relationship with the function, but I started with the one person. I have a much bigger team now, which makes sense. I'm getting better with understanding the need for product marketing, also how they work with product managers, and also understanding what makes you a good product marketing manager versus a bad product marketing manager. And I have toddler twins. They are making me a better product marketing manager every single day. So one core thing that you need to be a good PMM is communication skills. And when I say communication skills, not presentation skills, not talking, because we're all good at that. Listening, right? And nobody teaches you better listening skills than kids, than patience, inquisitive approach, and just patience, again and again. Just like multiply that by 1,000 times, right? So I feel like my kids are making me better product marketer. So I think this session topic just comes all together in why we're talking about this. Being the first is not easy. So let's do a little quiz. I'm not going to ask you guys who the person in the first picture is. Everybody knows that person is? Come on, be confident. Neil Armstrong, right? Who are the people in the second picture? Mount Everest, exactly. The people who summited Mount Everest, Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing. Who can tell me who's the woman in the third picture? You can get a special prize for that. Sorry? No. So that woman is Victoria Woodhull. She's the first woman presidential candidate. And she ran for the office in 1872, 50 years before all the women in the United States could even vote, right? So of course, being the first product marketer is not, I'm not going to say significant, but it's not as daunting as these guys. But sometimes it may feel like that, right? The expectations could be very high or could be very low. People may see you as threat when you join the company, and some people might just not get it. I was just talking to somebody, and the first question I got when I joined as a product marketer in my very first job was, we have a product manager and we have a content writer. Why do we need you? Right? So you have to establish your function, not just your discipline, your function, but also have to convince and prove your self-worth every single day. So it's definitely challenging. So I'm going to tell you guys some tips that work for me, and I would be happy to add more tips that you might have into my presentation. So first of all, product marketing managers as a different species, right? So in my first few days, I actually went to each and every department, the cross-functional departments that I was supposed to work with, and introduced myself as a new species. Remember those cheeky 80s and 90s alien movies? We come in peace, take us to your leader and stuff. So that was me. Things turned out good, not like the alien movies. But I'm like, I'm a product marketing manager. My head is in strategy about the business. I'm very agile on my feet. I have an eye for a detail. I'm an inquisitive person, so please mind the questions. And I'm ambidextrous. So the word ambidextrous means somebody who can use both of their hands equally. I'm not that. I just say that the way I define ambidextrous is somebody who uses both sides of their brains equally, the analytical part as well as the creative part. So I started defining my role, right? I started going to function, defining my role, explaining them what I did. I brought samples of my work. I literally brought message maps, product launch templates that I had, perfect pitch decks that I had, and I can work with you to develop something like this. I also went function to function and asked them to interview me, because I was hired by a product manager and a CMO, and a lot of people didn't get a chance to interview me. So I voluntarily went, and I'm like, ask me a few questions. And I always went in asking for an advice, and I always asked, how can I help you do your job better? And then I waited for 6 seconds. Another thing I learned from my kids, right? Always ask questions and wait for 6 seconds. People feel like they have to say something, and they will say something useful. So I don't know if you can see this doodle well or not. I created this doodle to define all the things that I was doing in my first product marketing manager job. So that's like little me, who's sitting on the PMM box, and all the functions that I was supposed to do in my PMM job. So I worked on this doodle with my CMO. I was reporting to the CMO back then. And then we also graded each of these functions by technical, business, and social skills. So you don't need social skills to do all of those. You need technical skills or you need business skills. And I took this doodle to people, and I asked them, how do they see it? Do you now understand how I work with your function? And things started making much more sense. Some people still had confusion between me and product management, me and content marketing, and me and solution consulting. So what worked for me are these tips. Have a clear distinction between how your role is different from a product manager's role. The best thing that worked for me was taking Pragmatic Marketing Framework. Who here has taken the Pragmatic Marketing courses? Awesome, so you guys know that, right? The way Pragmatic defines the role of product manager and product marketer may not work for all of you, so just come in with a blank template and ask them to put labels on what they think is their job and what you think are your job, and negotiate on things. Again, product managers, R&D folks, platform folks, dev folks are experts on the product. You can be the expert on the market and thus completing the puzzle. And the way I have seen product marketing always, and it seems to click with people when I explain it like that, is product marketing acts as a bookend to product management. So Devang was just saying that the role of product launch actually starts at the inception. I absolutely agree with that, right? You start with opportunity assessment, product market fit. So product marketing comes into play then. Then we leave product management, let them develop the product, and when they're done with that, it again comes back to product marketing. So product marketing acts as a bookend to product management. When you start explaining our functions in this way, they seem to understand that you're not thread, but you're actually their buddy who's going to make their lives better. The second thing is content marketing. And I think this was one of the very active threads last week on the PMA Slack channel as well. It's a very funny thing that in my company now, the content marketing team reports to me, so we are just adding to the confusion. What has worked for us is we both are writing, right? So what we do is we separate the types of content pieces that we write across the sales stages. The content marketing team takes awareness and education, and then the product marketing takes justification, evaluation, and purchase. And we all work together on the onboarding stage. Another thing that has worked for us is right now the company I worked at, Interactions, we sell pretty technical product. It's an artificial intelligence software, conversational AI software for contact centers. So there are a lot of technical concepts that I need to explain to people. What is conversational AI? How does natural language processing works? Machine learning, DNNs, all of that cool stuff, right? So product marketing writes knowledge briefs about that, and content marketing takes those knowledge briefs and creates different pieces of contents, ebooks, white papers, videos out of that. So we use this hub and spoke model of working in harmony together. There's still a lot of overlap, but they're all my people, so it makes sense. But if your content marketing team is separate than you, having this hub and spoke model definitely makes sense. And the third thing, it could be unique to me, is sales engineering. So in my very first job as a developer, I got bored with that really quickly, and then I moved into pre-sales. So in pre-sales, you do a lot of demos. You design demos, you do demos, and then I was very comfortable with that. So naturally, when I became a product marketer, I was still very comfortable with demo part of things. So my relationship with sales engineering was a little weird. Like, who develops the demos and who gives them? If they take me along with the sales call, I'll do the pitches, I'll do the demos, and what do they do? Right? So defining that in your organization is absolutely very important. That definitely worked for me. Again, my confusion and setting the boundaries was important for these three functions. It may look a little different for you, but this is always the area of confusion. And I think boundaries are the setting stone of every relationship, personal or professional. And product marketing gets the worst of it because we are so cross-functional. The next thing is making strategic friends. And it just sounds really icky because friendship should not be strategic, but we have to do it. Having a very good friend in every function, corporate marketing, content marketing, sales, business development reps, sales development reps, platform, app development, in my case, conversational design folks, of course, product management, solution engineering, and competitive analysis. It's absolutely important. And not just making that friend on the professional basis, making that friend on a personal basis, understanding their goals, their responsibilities, their dreams and hopes and everything. That makes you connect really better, and they can act as your sounding board. And the friendship just doesn't happen one way, so you also have to give things in return, right? So in my first few days, I volunteered to go on sales calls with people. Salespeople love that, by the way. If you just go and do their job, they love it. So just go and do demos. Go and talk about technology. Like, start with your comfort area, right? Technology was my comfort area, so I started being the SME, and that definitely worked. And once they have that trust and that confidence on you, everything just like follows with that. So having those strategic relationships at work is definitely important. And also empathize with the work that they do, right? Everybody is in that organization for a reason, so empathize with their problems as well. That definitely takes you to places. And just do some things without expecting anything in return. I would clean people's PowerPoints. That's my superpower. I would clean people's PowerPoints. I would go to your sales call with you. It's always good to have people owe you because you can ask for things in return. Very strategic, guys. Being the expert on the market. This is very pragmatic marketing. Your company is full of product and technology experts. They don't need another one. Maybe they do, but that's not you, right? They need a market expert. And my definition of market is pretty broad. They need an expert on what's happening in the market, what is the opportunity in the market, who are the buyers, what are their pain points, what are their goals, and what is the dynamics that is happening in the market that is causing the need for your product and the competition. So they need somebody who understands market in this perspective. The picture right there is from my favorite Forrester report. Again, not super fan of analysts. I always take what analysts say with a grain of salt. But this report is amazing. If you guys have a subscription to Forrester, I would say download this report for sure. So what this report does is kind of puts every product into this 2x2 matrix and helps you find what is your product doing to the market. Is it a reactive product? Is it a procurement product? Or is it selling a transformation or an improvement? Figuring out where your product lands on this 2x2 is going to set your sales motion, your marketing motion, and also going to tell you a little bit about what your buyers are thinking and change your selling around that. So if you take a copy of this report or a copy of this picture, might as well, with different groups in the company, all your strategic friends, and ask them what they think about this, is definitely going to do a lot of good things for you. My favorite line, somebody has said in the Boston Product Management Summit, a product marketing summit, was, don't be joined with product management at the hip. They pay you a different salary, and they gave you a different title for a reason, right? You're the expert on the market. You're not the expert just on the product. You're the bookends. You're not the middle part of it. Another thing that I learned when I was the new product marketing function in that company was asking each department, asking all of my friends, who they see as competitors. The information you get from corporate or the information you get from the salespeople may not have the complete picture. You need to know what the R&D department sees as their competitor. You need to know what the app dev team or the platform team thinks is their competitor. So having that complete picture definitely helps. And another quote from pragmatic marketing here is, enlightened teams work better. Everybody who understands the strategy of the company, it was Steven who was just here who was saying that only 5% people in the company understand the strategy. That's not good, right? So the more people know about what you're doing and why we are doing it, everything just follows after that. Nail down messaging early on. We all have been in this function for a very long time, and we all know how hard messaging is. And there are so many different ways you can slice and dice your messaging. Figure out a way that works for you. I see a lot of posts on the PMA Slack channel asking for messaging templates. It's a good start, but then somebody else's messaging template may not work for you. You have to create your own. So in my company, like the current company that I work for at Interactions, our messaging kind of looks like that thread over there. So we have our company level messaging, your mission, vision, values, your strategy. Then we have our product level and add-ons level messaging, followed by the features and benefits of those products and add-ons. And then we have industries and persona specific to those industries and their pain points and goals. And then we just have a lot of connecting things that go across, right? So that works for us. That doesn't mean that will work for you. So figure out what will work for you. Work with your other PMM buddy in some other company to just like validate your messaging map. And as previous speaker was saying, nobody cares about your messaging maps. Even if you print those and put those on your salespeople's desk, they wouldn't care about it because they cannot use it. So always convert your messaging maps into something that they could use. So of course, slides, everybody loves slides. What worked for me in this current role is collecting stories. So because we explain AI to folks who may not understand AI, it's always good to have stories, right? So if you haven't read this book called Made to Stick, definitely read it. It's all about telling better stories. So we write little stories for our salespeople. It's very easy to remember those things, right? Create anecdotes. If you hear something good from the customers, create that and put it on your central repository. We use Bloomfire as a knowledge management platform. That seems to work. Adoption and discoverability is still an issue, but that seems to work to an extent. But then creating your message or converting your message maps into things that make sense to your salespeople would actually take you to places. And then bring your own templates. Especially if you're the first product marketer when people still don't know who you are, why you exist, and you have to prove yourself every single day, bringing your templates makes sense. So it's always good to start with generic templates, but customize your templates that make sense for you. So I'm going to take some of Devang's presentation and change my product launch plan when I go home. So definitely do that. Take all of these things that are free for disposal on the PMA Slack channel or other groups you belong to and customize them, somehow make them as your own. Your perfect pitch templates, your corporate deck templates, message maps, positioning documents, go-to-market strategy, product launch strategy. Have those templates, but don't be rigid. Be open to changing them company to company, and you'll be so surprised to see how they have just evolved and just gotten better as you change companies and as you've changed roles or as you've worked on different products. The first 90 days. So this is especially for the first-time product marketers. If you're joining a big team, things are a little different, right? But if you are starting a new function, you have to work with your boss or your pseudo-boss to define how success is going to look like in the first 90 days. And a lot of things that we do are not the things that they can touch and feel. Of course, we can do battle cards and we can do case studies, but that doesn't come in first 90 days. So what are you going to do in the first 90 days to show your worth? So buy yourself a copy of this book, buy another copy and give it to your boss so they also know what you're saying, right? And then set some concrete goals. So in the first 90 days, I'm going to go on a listening tour and I'm going to tell you this is what is lacking in sales enablement and contents, etc. That's pretty achievable. You can do a bunch of different meetings or visits or Zoom calls in the first 90 days. Tell them that you are going to either revive or create a sales enable program. That is pretty achievable, that you can definitely do. So figure out what those 90 days goals mean for you and work with your boss to actually have them written somewhere to show that you are actually making change. My first 90-day goal was, I was one of those unfortunate ones who joined the company. They were like, we're doing a product launch in the next month, and we're launching voice biometrics. I'm like, what is that again? So we had to do a lot of that. But that was one of my OKRs, or like success matrix. And we had to do that. So figure out the success matrix that work for you and add that and make sure that you communicate those with your boss. Be loud about your work. So this may go against some people's personalities. This was definitely against my personality because I started as a developer, right? You put your head down, you do your thing, and you don't interact with people. And then I grew up in India where you don't talk about your work, you work and let your words, like work speak for you and stuff, right? But that doesn't work when you're the only product marketer in the company. You have to be loud about what you are doing. And by loud, I don't mean like scream. But then have a central repository where people can come and see your work. where people can come and see what you're doing as well as your plan. And don't just work with your boss. Many product marketers belong to the marketing association, so the boss, the CMO, the VP is aligned with them. But we also have a dotted line to the product manager, the VP of the products, or the business owner. So make sure that they are also aligned and they are also in agreement with what you are doing for the organization. So I've used Bloomfire, I've used Seismic, I've used Atlassian's Confluence in the past, just to lay everything down and keep updating that and make sure that you're over-communicating what you're doing. And just using all your strategic friends as sounding boards. Every time they're trying a new slide out in the field, go with them if that's possible. Otherwise, just talk to them immediately after they've tried your slide, just to see if that messaging has landed or completely fallen flat on its face so that you can go back and you can make changes. And the next thing is keep your eyes on the big picture. This is absolutely important. So everybody knows the Eisenhower matrix, right? Like the 2x2, urgent, important matrix. I feel like most of the PMMs are always in the urgent, important, or urgent, non-important quadrants all the time. But what we should be actually spending time in is the urgent, is the non-urgent, important space. And we never get time for that. The product marketing managers who are from technical background tend to be slipping towards more product management or solution engineering because that's our comfort zone, right? There are things that they are doing we could touch and feel and put our name against. The product marketing managers who are not from technical backgrounds and who come from more of a content or corporate marketing background, they tend to move towards content marketing, social, sales enablement. It's all fun, but we need to think about the big picture. We need to think about the strategy, because if we don't do it, it doesn't mean that that will not happen. Even if you don't do your work, other people have to sell, other people have to market, so they'll just make things up, right? So we have to keep our mind on the big strategy, on the big picture, and over-communicate. Enlightened teams work better. And the last tip is find your tribe. It's so important when you are the only product marketing manager because it can get lonely really quickly. Worst thing that could come out of that is you feel like everything that you're doing is great. That's the worst thing, right? Because there's nobody to validate it. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not working, but hey, who cares, right? You're just the only one who's just doing their job. So always find your tribe, always find other product marketing managers who are in the similar situations who can add as your sounding board, as your resonating board. So I'm in Boston. The associations that have worked for me was BPMA, it's like Boston Product Management Product Marketing Association. They're amazing. They have panels and sessions and events. The other one is Product Camp, is again Boston local thing. We have Product Camp every spring, which is great, and Women in Product. If something like that doesn't exist in your city, then there's, of course, the PMA Slack channel. Amazing space. You can definitely connect with people. If your company can fund it, go do pragmatic marketing or General Assembly courses on product marketing. That definitely helps too. And then finding your tribe is one thing. Just loving them hard is as important as finding your tribe. You have to give before you start asking for anything in return, right? I feel like a lot of people ask questions and they just like completely ghost you when you answer that. Don't do that, right? And LinkedIn is amazing, but then have meaningful connections, right? Connect to each other on LinkedIn, but then take time to actually speak to that person, like book 20-minute phone call. If they're in your town, go get coffee, go get drinks, and understand how their product marketing world is different from your product marketing world. What can you learn from each other? Ask people how they came to product marketing. It's fascinating. I've seen people come from all walks of life and eventually land into product marketing. Ask them how they came, ask them about their hobbies, and how that has made them a better product marketer today. So those are all my tips, and I'm pretty sure that you guys have more tips to add to this slide deck. So please send me those tips. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you have more tips for me, if you have any more questions for me, if you would like to get any templates or just like have a sounding board, somebody you can rant at, I would be there. So thank you so much.
So follow Priyanka. And does anyone have any questions for her? Any questions? I have a question for you, Priyanka.
Yep.
You said early in your presentation that you were bored with pre-sales. Are you still bored?
Pre-sales is depending on the product. The product I work on right now, I don't want to do pre-sales for that. No, the product I sold before, I worked at a company called SmartBear, and we sold to API developers, and it was an API testing tool. I loved it. I would do pre-sales all the time. So I think it depends on the tool as well.
So which one do you like? You still like product marketing better?
I still like product marketing, yes.
Because we rock.
Yeah, we do. Like #PMM.
Any other questions for? I'm going to run back there because someone gave the feedback that they could not hear all the questions. So just give me 1 second.
Hi, thank you so much. I loved that. And I have to say, I'm from IBM, and we are 5,000 product marketers strong, and we have exactly the same issues that you're
That's
talking
good to
about.
know.
People don't know what we do, and when a new person comes in, I think listening tours and showing your work, I mean, that's a huge, huge thing. And they're always really impressed, right? When we'll show them the templates or get their feedback and messaging, doing messaging workshops, and they're like, oh my God, this stuff really works. So anyway,
That's good to know.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Priyanka.
you.
So I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much. I felt so much better when I opened my LinkedIn after the break. I was just accepting. I almost accepted a guy who was trying to sell me insurance. I had to hit the button so many